Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Roger B. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Cybertruck owners can rejoice today as FSD version 14.1.5 is now rolling out to the early access Cybertruck owners. So it's not 14.2 as some were suggesting it might be, but Yoon Tasai said the teams worked non-stop over the weekend. And the release notes for the Cybertruck are the same as the rest of the fleet. Now we wait for some videos to see how this version performs.
We're coming up on the end of this drive and we're going to pull into my neighbor's driveway. What do you guys think? The Cybertruck's got FSD 14. It's got reverse capability. It does not have summon, actually smart summon or anything like that yet. The brake smoothness was perfect. I did not feel any of that. I felt the version 14 smarts. I felt the question mark in the unprotected left turn to start it off. I felt assertive maneuvers in the lane. Mad Max was as bold as it could be going down the interstate at 75 miles an hour. Very, very good. So we got some neighbors here and I'm pulling into this driveway in the dark and I can barely see it, and you got headlights coming on and it just nailed it. As if you lived here and you'd never been here in your life.
There's been some chatter about Tesla selling the Cybercab in China because they'll have a display up this week at the China International Import Expo in Shanghai. Now, long term, yes, it's safe to say Cybercab will be sold in the Chinese market and perhaps even eventually manufactured domestically in Shanghai. But for now, I just think this is Tesla putting its best tech foot forward to show off the brand and its capabilities a bit. And my expectations are that the Cybercab will be primarily for Tesla's robotaxi operations here in the States for at least 2026 and 2027 as the Cybercab slowly scales toward mass production. And remember, FSD is not widely deployed across the fleet in China yet, and it's not really because of regulations, it's mostly because the adoption rate is still pretty low. But the software is available for purchase for both AI 4 and Hardware 3 vehicles. It's just that Chinese customers are used to ADAS systems being free, and Tesla's FSD was not able to train heavily on local data. So FSD still has some shortcomings with recognizing certain Chinese specific road laws. And as far as we know, the country is still on FSD 13. So it may take Tesla some time to tune the FSD model specifically for China. And with what Elon said about wheels and pedals, which you'll hear later, it may be some time before we see a fully autonomous Cybercab becoming available for sale in China. Speaking of the Cybercab, we also got some new sightings over the weekend as Tesla was doing some testing at the In-N-Out drive-thru, which has become a tradition. And before we touch on a few noticeable differences, the lead engineer for Cybercab said, if you like this, just wait. So what we're seeing here is likely already outdated compared to what Tesla has planned internally. But the Tesla side repeater camera appears to be moved further away from the door. There are side view mirrors, likely just for testing thanks to regulations. There's a front bumper license plate. There's a new reflector or possibly an indicator on the front wheel well. It looks like we might have an updated headlight design. But overall, this tradition confirms what we've known. The Cybercab is about 6 months from entering production, and Elon did have some strong words about the Cybercab that you'll see later in this video. On the Tesla careers page, you will now find 17 results for Robotaxi Fleet Support Specialist for the night shift. These are in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Florida, and California. And specifically in Florida, it's for Tampa, Doral, and Orlando. And the role, you'll ensure that all of our vehicles are in excellent condition at all times, supporting smooth 24/7 vehicle operations. Remember, the last update we got had Tesla's robotaxi operations from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., leaving 4 hours of downtime each day, both in Austin and the Bay Area. But now it certainly looks like Tesla's preparing to eventually offer 24/7 operations. Tesla has also launched a new program to allow more people to experience FSD in their hometown. On their website, it says, run errands, get a ride to work, or visit a friend and let your Tesla take the wheel. We'll come to you and take you where you want to go. Hop in the driver's seat and a Tesla advisor will join you as your co-pilot. I'll have this website below. You can see the different states and the dates where this service is going to be offered. In some states it runs through November, in others it runs through December, so it just depends. And Raj from Tesla said, "We bring your dream Tesla to your driveway so you, your family, friends, and neighbors can experience the thrill of Tesla and its FSD, and of course all of the other features." I did put in my information for Tesla to contact me about this opportunity, not that I'm going to make them do it, but just to see how the process works. Within just a few minutes, I got a call from a Tesla rep, and I didn't answer, but they left me a long voicemail. They said as long as I was within about a 20-minute radius of their location, then they could actually come to my house. And he did say they were flexible with where they would come pick me up, whether it was at my home or at work. So it's a pretty cool initiative, definitely going to require Tesla's employees to have a fair amount of downtime riding to and from all of these locations. But Tesla's finally making a real concerted effort to get people to experience FSD in their towns, which I like a lot. Sawyer said Tesla should let owners in North America pay and gift a monthly FSD subscription to other Tesla owners in 1, 3, or 6-month packages. And Raj from Tesla replied saying, "We will have it ready before the holidays." So I think clearly the Tesla team is feeling very good about where version 14 is now and is tracking to, and the push for wider adoption is fully underway. Over the weekend, Elon said just finished a long AI5 design review with the Tesla California and Texas chip engineers. It's going to be great. AI6 and AI7 will follow in fast succession. AI8 will be out of this world. Now, yes, I think this is partially Elon trying to get the retail shareholders and maybe even some institutional shareholders excited and voting the right direction for the shareholder meeting, just for that last percentage of people that still have not placed their votes. However, I also think there's more going on here than meets the eye. Elon also said the chip design review continues today, followed by Optimus demo review. And that latter point could mean many different things, but Elon has said that version 3 of Optimus is going to make its public demo sometime, likely in Q1 or Q2. So I'm still not expecting to see anything from Optimus version 3 until early next year. But back to the silicon comments, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that making these chips is somehow easy and quick to do. Like you just come up with a design, you send it off to the manufacturer, and it gets made. But that's not really how it works. It's usually a pretty long and expensive process. And one of the primary steps is what people call the tape out, which is basically finalizing that blueprint of the chip, and then that's right before you would send it to a factory like TSMC or Samsung in Tesla's case. But what most people don't understand is going from the tape out phase to actually having hundreds of thousands of these chips produced usually takes 1.5 to 3 years. You have to set up the production lines, then you have to make the prototypes, and then you fix all of the bugs, and you have to ramp production. Which is why it might be true that Tesla's tape out of AI5 is mostly done, which fits the timeline that we might actually see it in a Tesla vehicle toward the end of 2026. But the fact that AI6 and 7 may come in fast succession means Tesla likely has a very solid blueprint for AI5, and this is after consolidating and moving away from the dojo path that Tesla was on. So in short, Tesla has drastically simplified everything and is now hyper-focused on just AI5. And then from this new core baseline, it'll be a lot easier to iterate future versions. And part of why Tesla can't just jump from AI4 to AI7 is because with AI5, Tesla is for the first time moving down to a 3 nanometer process, whereas as far as we know, AI4 was a 7 nanometer process. And we've talked about it a few times before, but this bleeding edge chip technology, 2 and 3 nanometer production, to put it simply, it's quite complicated. So Tesla is likely expecting the early test production to have a high percentage of defects. So just like anything else, using this more advanced technology is going to bring with it a new learning curve. But once Tesla works all of that out with TSMC and Samsung, they're going to have a really great base to begin building from there. And it's TBD if AI 6 and 7 will move down to the 2 nanometer process or will stay at 3. And Tesla chooses just to refine and iterate on the 3 nanometer tech. Looking back, Hardware 3 was first introduced in vehicles in April 2019, and then AI 4 was February 2023, so we'll call it about 4 years apart for this hardware actually making it into customer cars. And if AI 5 does make it to customer cars by the end of next year, that would mean the gap between AI 4 and AI 5 would be just shy of 4 years again. So this is just speculation on my part, but maybe there's a world where AI 6 and 7 roll out in 2-year intervals instead of 4. And I've seen a few people asking, why would Tesla keep doing this if AI 4 or 5 will be enough for unsupervised? Well, one obvious reason is Optimus. Remember, these chips will be used for both FSD and Optimus and might be used in the compute cluster as well. And further, Tesla's FSD is never ever going to be done. It will continue to get better with no real end or completion date, becoming superhuman over time. And as long as hardware and software continue making advancements, you can bet your bottom dollar that Tesla will be staying at the forefront to remain efficient and cost competitive. Talking about this news, Nick Patane said the next few years are going to be crazy, to which Elon said, super crazy. Which, when you think about it, has to be the case for Tesla to become an $8.5 trillion company in the next 10 years. Reuters said Samsung has reached an agreement with Tesla to supply more than $2.1 billion worth of energy storage system batteries to Tesla over 3 years. I will note Samsung said nothing had been decided yet, but as we've learned, usually where there is smoke, there's fire. The reporting on this 3-year deal that would start in 2026 would lock in 10 gigawatt hours per year for Tesla for LFP cells from Samsung. And this deal would make a ton of sense for Tesla to bridge the gap until its own Nevada LFP lines can actually hit scale. But most importantly, don't forget, Samsung has a joint venture with Stellantis in Indiana in the States. And the word is these LFP cells will be coming from that factory, meaning Samsung will be able to qualify this production for production tax credits. Now, yes, Samsung would earn those credits, but there's a good chance they're passing on some of those cost savings to Tesla. Maybe not 100% of the savings, but I think 70 to 90% given Tesla's leverage would make sense. Plus, Samsung is a Korean company, so they are not a foreign entity of concern. And the word is that Samsung is specifically retooling these LFP lines at their plant in Indiana for these Tesla-specific battery storage cells. Going back to the archives, October 2023, here's the press release from Stellantis in partnership with Samsung to eventually produce 67 gigawatt hours across 2 different factories. At the time, both of these companies were talking about this battery production specifically for electric vehicles. But fast forward 3 years, and now we have many legacy companies pulling back from EVs, so why not shift some of that production over to energy storage? And that is precisely why I said Tesla has the leverage. And look, I know people like to do the back of the napkin math to see how much Tesla's paying for these cells, but I'd be very, very careful running those calculations. Just know in practice, these numbers are more of an estimate than a guarantee of what's actually going to be paid by Tesla. We don't know how the production tax credits will be handled. We don't know if the actual rates paid are subject to change based on market fluctuations. I'm saying this because if you run the back of the napkin math, you get Tesla paying about $70 per kilowatt hour when spot prices for LFP cells imported from China can be around $50 to $60 per kilowatt hour. So yeah, just be careful with that. And then finally, Samsung owns 51% of this joint venture with Stellantis owning 49%. So the way it works, Stellantis gets about 40% of the cells for its own EVs, and then the other 60% of cells from this joint venture, Samsung has the ability to sell to anyone. So if this is true, and I'm guessing it is because Tesla has clearly been deepening its ties with Samsung recently, and it makes sense to secure domestic LFP supply as it comes online for the Megapack until Tesla can ramp its own LFP production. Over the weekend, Robert Scoble said that Elon DM'd me this morning and said Tesla Optimus version 3 can probably roll a cigar. Now, do I think the Optimus V3 demo will include Optimus rolling a cigar? I'm not going to get my hopes up, and I would not be expecting it, but all that matters is if the version 3 hands will have the dexterity to do so. Because if it does, that's going to have some profound implications for the capability of Optimus. And that's why I'm showing this basic video of rolling a cigar, because it certainly requires some dexterity and a high degree of touch and feel. So I think this is pretty wild, paired with the rumors we've heard about the temperature sensors in the fingers and how much time Tesla's been spending on the hands, which does include up to the elbow. So Robert, if you see this, thank you for making that little tidbit public. You may have seen SpaceX acquiring hundreds of Tesla Cybertrucks. Some of the reports are over 250 already delivered to Starbase alone. And there are further rumblings of thousands more being purchased across SpaceX facilities. The primary purpose? To replace the aging fleet of gas-powered work trucks at sites like Starbase in Texas and the Starlink factory in Bastrop. Cybertruck engineer Wes called it part of the dream to swap these ICE fleets for Cybertrucks. So listen, some people are going to argue it's inside baseball here, and if you want to do it, I get it. Maybe Cybertruck sales are going to be inflated a bit in Q4, and perhaps part of these orders were in Q3. But as we know, the Cybertruck is a very capable vehicle, so if SpaceX wants to electrify the fleet, which it does, the Cybertruck is an obvious choice. Don't forget, SpaceX engineers literally helped design the stainless steel for the Cybertruck. It fits the SpaceX aesthetic perfectly. But sure, without these deals, Cybertruck sales would look even worse. There's just no way around it. Speaking of the Cybertruck, the first shipment has officially landed for deliveries in South Korea, and deliveries to buyers are expected to begin this month. This means South Korea is the first market outside of North America to get official Tesla deliveries. And yes, orders are open in the UAE and Dubai, but the first deliveries are not expected until late 2025. I would not be expecting a huge sales boost from South Korea. This is one image alone, and we're talking dozens of Cybertrucks in this picture. Certainly there may be more, but there's always an initial level of pent-up demand, and then after that is the real question: where is the steady state demand? For my friends across the EU, there's a new petition going around titled "Release Tesla FSD Supervised in Europe" with over 7,200 signatures. It's pretty simple. It's calling on stakeholders, EU authorities, and Tesla to work together so FSD can finally be released. I'll have this link below if you would like to sign the petition. Right now in the US, Tesla's offering 2,000 free supercharging miles if you trade in your gas vehicle. Elon shared a post talking about how breakfast at the Tesla diner is now available until 2 p.m. with a lot of new items on the menu. Elon said the Tesla diner's going well, probably makes sense to open one near our Giga Texas HQ in Austin and Engineering HQ in Palo Alto. And I will continue to be the advocate to bring one of these to the East Coast. In China, Tesla has released a software update unlocking vehicle-to-load support for the Model Y/L. Now, you may remember October 1st, Tesla said the new Model Y Performance offers vehicle-to-load 120 volts, 20 amps AC with a Tesla outlet adapter, which means whenever it's software unlocked, the Model Y Performance will be able to export up to 2.4 kilowatts of power through the charge port. Now, don't get this confused. Some people are saying the Model Y is now offering vehicle to home, but Tesla has not officially made that clear yet. For now, it's just vehicle to load. And as far as we know, this is not going to have the juice to power your home anyways. It's really meant for devices only. There's people out there saying now older Tesla vehicles might be able to get this software update to enable vehicle to load, but I am not holding my breath. There might be new hardware being installed on vehicles like the Model Y Performance and the Model Y/L that allow this feature, so maybe very newly produced Tesla vehicles outside of just these get a software update in the future, but for now that really is just speculation. Today, Waymo said it now has plans to launch in San Diego, Detroit, and Las Vegas. The service will begin in San Diego next year. They did not give a timeline for Detroit, but they've said we've made great strides in our efforts to operate in heavier snow, including testing in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. And we look forward to the 6th gen Waymo driver navigating Detroit streets this winter. But it sounds like that will just be for testing. And in Las Vegas, they're planning to launch the service next summer. They said, "We will of course be serving the Strip, and we're working to eventually serve the airport." Elon was on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm guessing many of you have heard about the Tesla relevant clips by now, but in case you haven't, Elon said Tesla's getting close to demoing the prototype for the Roadster. He guarantees the product demo will be unforgettable, whether good or bad. He said, "I think if Peter Thiel wants a flying car, he should be able to buy one." The Roadster demo has a shot at being the most memorable product unveil ever. They're aiming to hopefully do the demo before the end of this year, but then Elon said hopefully in a couple of months, just need to make sure it works. Crazy, crazy technology. Is it even a car? It's crazier than all of the James Bond cars combined. So yes, Tesla's aiming for this Roadster demo by the end of this year, but I will not be surprised at all if we don't get it until sometime in Q1. And Elon was also on the All In podcast, where he said that Tesla would not be putting a wheel or pedals in the Cybercab, and they are still aiming to start production of the Cybercab in Q2 2026. Elon also said he's now expecting no safety monitor sometime in December. He did not specify if he meant in Austin or the Bay Area as well. He said Austin has gone pretty smooth. They're learning how to manage a fleet of vehicles, and they're writing all of that software, meaning the ride-hailing software itself, because they need to make sure cars don't go to the same supercharger or the same intersection at the same time. They're learning how to teach the cars what to do during different demand periods. Elon mentioned it's somewhat difficult ensuring the cars actually park in the right spaces, meaning avoiding handicapped spaces, especially if the paint on the concrete is faint and it's hard to tell. And sometimes the robotaxis will park in very tight spaces because they see that it can fit, but they're not considering that, well, in that case, the people can't get in or out of the vehicle. So it's really those oddball corner cases that Tesla is busy solving for. He also mentioned how the robotaxis have to connect to the San Jose airport servers every time they drop someone off, and the cars actually get charged for that, and Elon said it was like $5. He said airports are somewhat of a racket, but basically we have these robot cars calling a robot server to charge its credit card on file every time they drop someone off. And so I fact checked Elon here, and the SJC airport does charge a $4 fee, not $5, and they charge this to commercial ground transportation companies to cover things like curbside management, traffic control, infrastructure maintenance, and administrative oversight, which, when you analyze it, I think is why Elon said airports are kind of a racket. So as everyone builds their robotaxi models, I think that will be important to include. And then Elon said he's expecting to have 500 plus robotaxis in Austin by the end of the year and 1,000 plus in the Bay Area. Now, if you ask me, I'd say that's very optimistic. We're at maybe 25 in Austin and maybe 100 in the Bay Area right now. And we have less than 60 days left in the year. So the question becomes, would Tesla scale to these numbers with safety monitors? Or will they maybe remove the safety monitor in December and then very quickly scale the fleet? Let's just say I have my doubts Tesla actually hits these numbers by the end of the year, because this is an order of magnitude increase in both areas in less than 60 days. And obviously, if any company can do it, Tesla could easily do it. But based on everything we know, to me, these feel like numbers that we'll see sometime in Q1.
If you don't get that vote, if it doesn't go your way, it looks like it's going to, would you leave? I mean, is that even in the cards? I heard the board was very concerned about
that. Let's just say I'm not going to build a robot army if I can be easily kicked out by activist investors.
Yeah.
No way.
Tesla has officially started Model Y standard production in Berlin. Andre Thierig said, "Remarkable milestone in our young history, less than 9 months after launching the Model Y Premium." On X, Will said, "Took my first robotaxi tonight. Seems like Tesla is going to win. They make the cars, have the Pure Vision model stack, and the network to deploy them." To which Elon said, "Hardware is the end game." If you haven't been following along, Elon has now said this very statement a handful of times. difference. I think it's very important to understand why Elon says this. Part of it is because he has called out the data wall problem in the past, which is basically that training on more internet data will give you diminishing returns. Elon has also said you can have a robot walking in a simulation nearly infinite times, but it's the last 1% or the march of the nines, where certain levels of sentience and understanding will only come from the real world, which means whoever actually owns the physical part of that equation is going to have the advantage. And at its simplest form, the company that can turn a thought, think something like "go make me coffee," into actual atoms moving in the real world is going to capture 90% plus of AI's economic value, which is what we've been saying all along. Real world embodied AI is the unlock. And one of the best statements I've heard Elon say about this, he said, "Software is a gas. It expands to fit any container. Hardware is the bottle. Whoever builds the best bottle wins forever." And for me, I think Tesla's bottles that are the cars, that are Optimus, and that are Tesla's energy products are the best in the market. So to oversimplify, I would say yes, some parts of the AI market are certainly in a bubble. I think a lot about LLMs. But when it comes to physical embodied AI, I still think we have not even started. On that point, don't forget to vote your shares if you have not already. You have until Wednesday this week, November 5th, to do so, as the much anticipated annual shareholder meeting will be this Thursday, November 6th. It'll start at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm guessing a meaningful number of you have your Tesla shares with Charles Schwab, and just know, as it stands now, 6 of their ETF funds have been voting against Tesla's board. So Jason DeBolt and Sawyer and many others are now applying the pressure on social media. So of course I'm not telling anyone what to do, but if you wanted to reach out to Schwab and let them know how you feel, now would be a good time to do so. And if you want to be a part of this potential movement of Tesla retail investors moving their shares away from Schwab to support Elon and take a stand, I just wanted to let you know this is what's going on. But please know, if you were to do this, there will likely be a few days where you have no ability to trade your shares. And just a quick heads up, I've now seen multiple people complaining about FSD 14 and handling leaves, meaning it's stopping for leaves in the road. So just be careful and alert out there. Tesla stock closed the day at $468.37, up 2.59%, while the NDX was up 0.44%. The volume was 2% below the average. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X, link below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.